Hey, is this thing on? Hello? Hit it again. I think it's on now. Welcome to Hiker Trash Radio, where each week, Doc will drag some colorful characters out of the woods to talk trail and Type 2 fun. If you're aspiring hiker trash, or if you're just looking to understand the hiker trash in your life, look no further. So lace up those boots, gnaw on some jerky, and settle into your 20-mile pace as we fire up the podcast from somewhere deep in the backcountry. It's time to embrace the suck.
Welcome back to another week on the trail, dirtbags, hiker trash, and of course, good-smelling day hikers. I'm Doc, and this is the John Freaking Muir Pod. Hey, if you like what we're doing here, leave a review on Apple Podcasts and help us move up the charts. If you don't like it, well, just go ahead and keep that to yourself. All right, let's get to this week's guest, a hiker, a tattoo artist, and a podcast host, Luke Pytlik. Welcome to the John Freaking Muir Pod, Luke. How's it going?
Hey, Doc, it's going great. I really appreciate you having me on. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Now, I'm intrigued, and we're going to talk about your day job in a little bit, but I'm intrigued about the whole tattoo artistry angle we've got going here.
All right. It sounds good. I got plenty to talk about, I guess. I've been doing it for almost 15 years now. So,
okay. Now, out on the trails, have you picked up a trail name before?
Okay. So the trail name is kind of a funny scenario with me. I do technically have a trail name. It is, so my trail name is Picasso. Okay. It suits me, obviously, for obvious reasons, because I'm an artist and just obviously that's it. I'll be honest though, I am in the market for a new trail name. and I'll explain why. It was, I hiked the John Muir Trail back in 2013, I believe it was. And I went with a good friend of mine, and we had never even heard of trail names. I'd never heard the term. I had no idea what it was, and I'm sure we'll get into the whole story of me doing the hike. But as far as that was concerned, it was like, well, what's this trail name thing? We're running it. I think our first experience was some girl that was, when you're starting off the John Muir Trail in, was it Happy Isle? Was it down there in Yosemite? And you start walking up the steps, and it's just like, holy cow, they really, they don't ease you into this at all, So you're just going up for a long period of time, as those of you that have done the JMT know. And we were walking up, and I remember just thinking, man, we got a long road ahead of us. And some girl is just kind of prancing along up the hill. She's got a real small little pack on her, and she's prancing along up, and she kind of stops and just, she's all happy and hey, how you guys doing? And we're sucking air, and she's like, I'm going, like, we're doing great. How are you doing? She's like, good. I'm gonna go do this JMT in 5 days. We're like, what? She's like, my name's Gazelle. See you later. And she just prances off and bounds off like a gazelle. And anyway, so at that moment, it was just like my friend's like, well, we need trail names. So let's see, you're an artist. You can be Picasso, and he named himself. I'll be Vacation Boy, because he'd been doing lots of vacations at the time. And so I have the trail name, but it doesn't really define me. It wasn't given to me because of a good reason. Besides just he just felt like I needed a trail name right then, and he just named me after what I do, So
Got it.
That's kind of where I'm at there.
Got it. That'd be a little disheartening to hear, here you are just getting started on the JMT, and you run into her, and she's going to do it in 5 days, and she is, feeling no pain whatsoever. I had to be, like, oh, what the hell am I doing here?
Well, it's, especially at that moment, because we're just starting this thing, and I wasn't that experienced of a hiker at the time. I'd done it, but I had nothing like that, and I'm already hurting physically just trying to get to the top of that waterfall, and so yes, a little bit disheartening, but obviously I survived. So.
Yeah, day one, when you're struggling on day one, I've had that feeling many times. You're struggling on day one, you're thinking, holy cow, this has got to get better, right? It's got to get better.
Yeah, and it never does really. You just get used to it more.
That's right. That's right. Things don't get easier. You just get better at doing hard.
That's right.
Doing hard things. That's right. And, I have upon occasion, through the course of an interview, I've bestowed a couple of trail names. So maybe we could be on the lookout for a trail name for Luke tonight.
You know what? I'm open to that. I'm open to that. I heard you do that the other day on one you released. There's an older gentleman.
Pops.
What do you call it? Pops. That was it. Yeah. So yeah, you know what? I'm open to it because I'll be honest, that was a pretty good name. I don't think I heard the end of that one. Did he accept it?
Oh, he did. He leaned into it. Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Now,
right on.
If you're not watching this on YouTube, if you're just listening to this, you have no idea what Luke's setup is. He looks very professional there. In fact, I'm a little bit intimidated. He's in a full on podcast studio. He's got the foam on the walls to deaden the sound. He's got the microphone on the arm there. Looking pretty good, Luke.
Well, I appreciate that. It's unfortunate that I'm looking at my phone now, however, instead of my computer that goes along with all this fancy stuff. And now I didn't even realize that you had a visual version of your show. So now I realize how stupid I look. It's just looking up at my chin with the microphone in front of it. And, I guess it is what it is. I'm not going to try to fix it now.
Yeah, you've got your phone situated on your desk, evidently, and so you're looking down. It's almost like you're looking down at me. I'm feeling really small right now. So,
well, I have that effect on people anyway, so don't worry about it.
All right,
just kidding. I'm actually pretty short.
So, Luke, you have had a chance to listen to the podcast before.
I have. I actually really like your show. Yeah, I never would have thought that a show about hiking could keep me coming back for more. So that's a compliment because if you just say, you know what, I'm going to do a show about hiking, it sounds like the most boring thing you could ever talk about, but you do an extraordinary job.
Oh, thank you, Luke. I appreciate that. Really, this is, it is a wilderness outdoor adventure type podcast, a lot of hiking, a lot of thru hikers, but really what we're all about is the stories behind the people. I mean, it's about people. A human interest podcast. So that's the best part of this job. I can call it a job because I get a little bit of money for it. But the best part of the job is talking to people like you and just getting new perspectives and hearing their stories.
Yeah, that is the best part. That's one of the reasons I do it. I love, my podcast is a very modest one. It's fairly new. But my favorite episodes are the ones we're able to get some good guests on and really learn stuff and give people something interesting to listen to, that they learn stuff.
All right. Let's not keep it a secret. What's the name of your podcast?
Name of my podcast is The Never Inside Theory. And it's got a similar concept to yours, just mostly about, outdoors. Our slogan, if you want to call it that, is Let's Outside. So I'm personally trying to coin the phrase outsiding as a verb. So I know as an educator, you'll appreciate that, or you'll hate it. One of the two.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like innovative uses of the language. That's good. Good stuff.
Yeah, rappers do it all the time, right? So
that's right. Your motto is "Let's outside." My motto is "Embrace the suck," and that's kind of it's kind of like, lean into the difficult times, including when you're listening to my podcast. It could be difficult at times with the way I do things. You're thinking, oh man, this is pretty sucky, but we're going to embrace it and keep listening.
Fair enough.
All right. So you are aware of a segment that we used to do called the Pro Tip Insight of the Week. We have changed things up for season 6. It is now called the Hiking Hack. And so same concept, but it's just kind of rebranded a little bit. It's now the Hiking Hack, where you will get to share your trail wisdom with our listeners to make their next outdoor experience even better. And that comes towards the end of the episode.
Okay. Sounds good.
Be thinking about that as we talk.
Will do.
Okay.
I'm on it.
Trailblazers Toolkit.
All right, that's right. It's time for the Trailblazers Toolkits segment, sponsored by the ultralight backpacking gear company 6 Moon Designs. I love to talk about gear on the podcast, and I love to hear about the most important item in my guest's adventure gear. So, Luke, if you were preparing your next adventure and I was the one providing you with all your gear, what is the one specific piece of gear you would insist on being packed? Give me all the specifics on that piece of gear and tell me why you've got to have it out there. This could be any type of item. It could be gear, apparel, or luxury item. So, Luke, what is that item in your toolkit?
You know what? I feel that most things are essentially a luxury that you're bringing with you besides, food and water. And I think that I personally can survive under most conditions with minimal stuff. I can get through. I can get through. But I think the thing that I would bring that I would absolutely have to have no matter what, if I was short stuff, would be a knife. And that I have a bit of a survival background, so a knife is honestly, I don't feel like I use a knife that often when I'm hiking. There's really not that much of a reason to, unless you're cutting open something you're eating or whatever the case is. But I feel safer with a knife, and I feel more prepared with a knife for whatever scenario is going to come up, and that's just the survivalist in me. So as far as types, I'd prefer to have like a good medium length fixed blade knife, something that's a survival type knife. Something that's good for chopping stuff. You have to got a nice thick blade. I don't have to have a specific brand or model, but something that's going to be durable, not break, stay sharp, and a good decent size, but not too big, so you can use it as a fine carving tool and stuff like that.
Yeah, did you happen to listen to the episode French Guy in a Tent, or Atypical French Guy?
You know what? I think I listened to part of it, but I didn't hear anything about a knife.
Yeah, so. He talked about a knife, and he always has a knife, just like you. I think it was his must bring gear, and I asked him what brand, what kind of knife, and he says that every Frenchman, no matter where they carry Opinels, right?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I was driving when I heard that, and I really wanted to go look that thing up when I got home, and of course I forgot about it till literally just now.
Yeah, I looked it up. I even put it on my Christmas list, and it showed up in my stocking. So I got myself a nice Opinel right now.
That's pretty cool. What was the deal with that? It was like the metal that it was made out of was like carbon or something like that. That like it wore away quicker, but it was easier to sharpen or something like that.
Yeah, it was a carbon blade, and evidently all Frenchmen carry that no matter where they go, no matter what they're doing. They'll sit down and have their coffee and, I don't know, pick their nails with their knife or what they do with it. But everybody's got one evidently, and it's crafted in some small town in France that is just known for that.
And they just sell them for really cheap, though, right? Like you can get them in every store over there or something like that.
Yeah, it's like next to nothing.
That's interesting. I have to remember to go look that up too. So that's cool. Yeah, right. I'm sure one of those would be sufficient for myself.
Okay.
It's the hiking poll.
All right, it's time for the hiking poll, and that is poll spelled P-O-L-L, like a survey, not like the hiking instrument you carry out there on the trail. I like to point that out to show how clever I am, and your reaction is the same as every other guest. So there you go.
Crickets,
exactly. Now, this is a 7-question survey that's going to help me give you a score on the sanity scale from 1 to 100. 1 being completely insane, 100 being completely sane.
All right.
How do you think you'd fare on this?
I typically don't do too well, so I guess we'll see what happens here.
Okay. And there's an automatic 30-point deduction for anybody who has appeared naked on TV.
Ooh, I'm already starting off on the short end of the stick here.
Yeah, all of a sudden, all of my listeners just sat up a little bit straighter in their car seats or on the trails. They what's going on here? Yeah, we've got some very interesting material to cover today, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, just know that Luke, his highest possible score is 70 because he's got some pretty crazy stuff in his background. So, all right, these are 7 questions, all related to hiking. I'm going to get your opinion on which side you fall on, and then I will come up with a score for you. and we'll see if you're north of 50 or south of 50. What would your coworkers say about you if I asked them? What number would they give?
Oh, you said north of 50 is more insane.
Is sane.
It's more sane. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm probably on the lower below 50 end. Not lower, but I'm definitely, I'm not normal per se.
Okay, not normal. That's a candidate right there for trail name. Not normal.
That is absolutely.
My first experience with a trail name was we met a guy. We're doing a pack shakedown on a segment of the PCT up where I live, and met a guy on the trail, and he introduced himself as Cheese. And I thought, that's interesting. Okay, and that's where I discovered the whole phenomenon, because I'm like, is this guy's name really Cheese?
Yeah.
So I mean, you could introduce yourself. People ask you, "Hey, how you doing? I'm so and so," and you say, "Hey, I'm not normal," and they'd really give you a look.
There might be something to that. We're gonna let that marinate for a little bit.
Okay. All right. Question number 1. 7 questions. First question: trekking poles or no trekking poles out there?
I am a trekking pole guy for sure. Yeah, it's in my opinion, I never had an issue with how I looked with them. I just didn't know that I necessarily needed them. And then, my earlier days of hiking and stuff like that was just whatever gear I could find, and I wasn't, buying all the stuff. So I went without them. And then the first time I tried one, I had one, and I was like, wow, this is great. I bet if there were 2, it would be even greater. So yeah, trekking poles ever since. And the best way I can describe it to people that have no idea and have never dealt with anything like that is that it turns you into a 4-legged animal. So going up hills, you got all 4 legs to pull you up. Going down hills, you got all 4 legs to lower you down. So it's not all on just 2 of them. You got balance to help you climbing, all that stuff. I mean, it's not a necessity, but it sure as heck makes things a lot better.
That is an excellent explanation. I'm always looking for good explanations because I never know who's listening. It could be experts out there who are tuning in. It could be somebody who's considering taking a hike for the very first time. And so I think the explanation helps everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everyone's got a different way of describing it too. So,
all right. Question number 2. What's on your feet? Boots or trail runners? Or are you that rare breed that goes in flip-flops?
No, I'm not a flip-flop. I'm a flip-flopper most of the time, but not when I'm hiking. I have currently boots. I think I'm one of those guys that, starting out in the whole thing, boots were what you were supposed to do. It's going to protect your ankles and stuff like that. And I think that I had twisted some ankles here and there earlier on. So I had convinced myself that I need boots that go up and protect the ankles. I've been using them ever since. I did try some shoes at one point, but I think really to back up, when I hiked the John Muir Trail, I did all the research at that time, and then I never did research again afterward. So now that I'm like, I've gotten kind of back into, listening to you for one thing, and then kind of, I've got some trips coming up. So I've gotten back into like getting online and seeing what's new and what people are using and stuff like that. And I'm realizing everyone's doing the shoe thing. So I think maybe on the next set that I buy, it'll be some shoes to try them out, some trail runners. But I've got some good Solomon's right now, Solomon boots. They're like the mid-height ones, and they're like just past the point of being perfectly broken in, but they still got plenty of miles on them. So I think I'm going to stick with those.
They're in that sweet spot.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with those for a little while, and then maybe try. And I think you'll realize I'm kind of in that transition of a lot of different pieces of gear at the moment, but that'll be maybe on the next round. I'll be looking at those shoes, those regular like trail runners.
Now, Luke, if I'm your only source, your sole source of research materials, you're in trouble. So,
yeah, well, you're the majority of it right now. So, so wish me luck.
All right. Yeah. Fingers crossed, buddy. All right. Question number 3. When it comes to your shelter system, are you a tent guy, tarp, hammock, bivvy, or cowboy camping?
I will cowboy camp if I have to. It's not something that I do if I don't have to. I'm a tent guy. I'm open to trying the tarp thing since I've gotten back into learning about what people are doing these days. It's like, oh, they're doing tarps now. The hammock thing I tried out earlier on, never really was my jam. I feel like if it's colder conditions, you got the air all around you, so you can never really quite get warm. And plus, the conditions have to be right to find the right trees and stuff like that. A tent, one of these days I'll probably fork out the money for a really nice tent, but I've always just had the real basic tent and just haven't quite gotten around to forking out a bunch of dough for it, because typically on, through hikes or any of that is, you don't spend a lot of time in the tent, so as long as it's quick and easy to set up and it's not ridiculously heavy, I don't see a reason to change it, honestly.
Yeah, great point. I mean, don't let the fact that you don't have $700 to drop on a 13-ounce tent be the reason you're not going out there and doing some hiking.
Yeah.
You can get away with
exactly.
A little bit heavier. It's durable. So
yeah, I got a little $100 mountain or Alps mountaineering one-man tent that I've been carrying around for a few years, for 4 or 5 years, and it just does the job. And again, I don't spend a lot of time in it. It's like a pound and a half. It's like, what else do you need?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Question number 4. When it comes to sleep system, what do you use? A sleeping bag or a quilt?
This is going to be in line with with everything I've been saying here. It's always been sleeping bag. I'm just over the last few months realizing that the quilt is a thing, and I'm excited about it because I get really like claustrophobic in the mummy bags. Like I don't like my feet being all squished together, and I've always been fine with it, but the whole quilt thing has been in front of me, this whole time recently, and it's like, man, that looks or sounds pretty nice. So it's so I have a trip coming up in about a week and a half here, and I'm trying to get a quilt before I go. I'm not one to buy the cheap stuff, so I want to get a nice one. But I really don't want to spend $400. I found a guy on OfferUp that is willing to trade me tattoos for a brand new quilt, $400 quilt. But I don't think I'm gonna be able to get it before I go because he's kind of wishy-washy about the design he wants. He's not willing to let me give him some collateral and take it early before we do the tattoo. And I think I'm going to end up passing on it because I really want it for the trip, and it just is what it is, So I'm going to end up buying one, I think.
Just me, but I don't think you should be haggling with your tattoo artist. I mean, this guy is potentially putting something on your body that's there permanently, and you want to make sure he's happy.
Well, I wish some people would take that advice. but no, it's all good. I get it. I'm just some guy. But I trade tattoos for literally everything. This is a completely off-topic thing here. If there's anything I want, I literally first thing I will do is go on OfferUp or Craigslist or something like that, and I start throwing out offers to trade a higher dollar amount of tattoos worth for what they have. And so I'm getting into photography recently. I got this brand new camera. I just traded a lens. I traded tattoos for a new super wide angle lens yesterday, so I can learn how to do some cool sky shots while I'm out there. But anyway, the trade's not going to probably happen before I go, and I'm probably just going to end up dropping the dough for it.
Got it. I wish I knew you a couple of years ago. I got a life-size tattoo of myself, and I thought it came out pretty well, but there's always room for improvement.
I mean, it kind of looks like you.
Kind of, yeah. All right, question number 5. When it comes to food, are you stove guy, cold soak, or stoveless?
I'm a stove guy.
All right.
I carry it. Yeah, I just carry a little jet boil, and it gets the job done. I'm not one to I'm all for suffering. I can suffer with the best of them, but if I can carry it and be have a little comfort, why not? That's kind of where I'm at with that kind of stuff.
All right. Question number 6 is life better above or below the tree line?
beautiful above the tree line, but I like it below the tree line better. I think that there's natural shelter, there's shade. Everything's. I mean, typically, if you're on these through hikes, you can't necessarily burn wood, but if you're not on one of these big trails that are managed more severely, then burning wood is collecting wood and burning it. I don't think you're even allowed to burn wood over 10,000 feet in most places. So yeah, it's just prettier. I mean, it's pretty above the trees. Don't get me wrong; it's amazing. But I like trees. I like birdies flying around my head.
Okay. And last question in the poll: is life better? I'm sorry, I just asked that question. Last question in the poll: what's more important, pack weight or luxury items? And I think I know which way you're going on this one as well.
Yeah, I mean, pack weight's definitely important, but I am okay with sacrificing a little bit of the comfort for better amenities when I get to my stops and stuff like that. So pack weight is important to a certain weight. If it's under, if I'm doing a through hike, I don't want it probably more than like 40 pounds. But if I'm just doing anything less than like a week, 45 pounds I'm happy with. And if I can get other things in there and still be at 45 or maybe a little bit over it, I'm fine. I'll throw those extra amenities in there,
All right. Hey, Luke, I need you to stand by just for a minute here. I got to do some math. We're going to take your answers and put them through the John Freaking Mearpod algorithm, and we're going to see how this comes out. I've got, let's say I got to carry the 3, going to multiply by pi, and divide by root 3, and we're going to adjust your answers for the pain threshold for someone getting a tattoo on the point of their elbow. And I come up with a score of 42.
Oh, yeah, I knew it. I'm insane.
42. You're closer to that bottom number. That's right.
Yeah, it was expected.
All right. Hey, Luke, before we get too far into trouble, let's back up a little bit. Let's hear about your background, where you grew up, what kinds of sports and hobbies did you play, and how did you get involved in the outdoor adventure, the thru hiking cult?
Okay, so just growing up, I moved around a lot. I actually didn't get into hiking really until like into my mid-20s. So yeah, I moved around a lot and started off in Southern California, moved up to Oregon around junior high times, and then just kind of bounced around there and ended up graduating high school from Northern California, went in the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps was kind of a funny thing for me because I was just I was real small, tiny little guy, stoner, not a whole lot of I don't really know what I was doing with my life. And my brother had gone in the Air Force. So I just was like, well, I'll just go in the military. And then the Marine Corps was the one that would take me, no problem. So I went in the Marine Corps, and I don't think I realized that I had it in me to be out doing difficult things physically, and you know what I mean. And I think I knew I was adventurous, but I don't think I realized that I was as adventurous as I am. So being in the Marine Corps, I think I had moments where I was really pushed way beyond any limits that I even knew I had. And learned a lot about myself, and around the time that I was getting out of the military and moving forward with life there, is kind of when I started embracing that. Well, I'm a Marine, I need to get out there and go hiking and blah blah blah. Even though I wasn't that into it when I was in. And so I kind of just got into it to just being out camping more often, and not just car camping, but trying to throw some things on my back, even though it was just a regular backpack that I'm like mounting sticks to going up so that I can tie my sleeping bag to it and stuff like that, just because it would be fun. And I didn't know what the right gear was, even if I could afford to buy it. And I had some roommates that I was living with in my mid-20s, and we decided we used to watch Man vs. Wild all the time. That was our show, and we decided we're going to go do a Man vs. Wild trip. and we all gathered together whatever kind of gear we could get together, and we planned a weekend. It was supposed to be like 3 days up in the Sierras, and we're going to go out there. We're not going to bring food or water, and we're going to go survive. We're going to go set traps and catch squirrels, and we're going to fish, and we're going to, we're going to survive. We're going to go beat Bear Grylls. And it did not turn out that way. But that was probably my first, we got like 4 miles in, and of course we were idiot partiers at times. We brought alcohol with us. We didn't bring food or water, but we brought alcohol.
Just the essentials. Yeah.
Just the essentials. I found out real quickly how bad dehydration feels, as my buddy's trying to figure out how to use the magnesium and flint, to get a fire started so we could boil some water and drink it, because we're all dying of Jack Daniel's poisoning. And but that was like my first experience out there. And then we did like one more after that. All my friends kind of just went back to doing what they did in life. And for some reason, the hiking aspect of that stuck with me, and I kept moving on with it. So that was kind of my, how I got into just backpacking in general.
Luke, I think it's safe to say that your other friends, they all probably scored higher on the sanity scale than you did. And
most certainly.
That's why you were drawn back.
Most certainly. Absolutely. Yep. So, so that was what got me interested. And then one day, probably, let's see, well, it was 2013. So you're a teacher, or we're a teacher. What's the math? I'm 44 right now. It was 2013.
So you were 35. About 10 years ago. It was 10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago. So I was 34.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine sent me and another friend of mine a message. I remember it. And he said, "Hey guys, I can't remember when it was, but it was going to be like 6 months from then." He's like, "Well, you guys want to go hike the John Muir Trail with me?" I had no idea what this was, and I, obviously I went and Googled it and looked it up. It said John Muir Trail, 211 miles. My initial reaction was, "You're out of your damn mind." What are you talking about? So that was just kind of the end of the conversation. My other friend just kind of laughed it off too, and we all went on about our ways. But he planted that seed, He planted the seed. And so, after that, it was, I can't remember, the time frame, but it was just more and more just on my mind, like, man, that would just be insane, wouldn't it? Like, that's just insane. Start Googling it more, start looking at it more, start looking at Facebook. There's a John Muir Trail Facebook page, where everyone's talking about it. And that was the majority of where I got my info back then, and so obviously it just like in life and everything else, I just said, let's do it. The only way to know is do it, and that happened. And it's all downhill from there. If I can be out there, I'm out there, which is very rare, unfortunately.
Now, Luke, you're dating yourself by saying you got all your information from the John Muir Trail Facebook page. I mean, at least you didn't say it was the John Muir Trail MySpace page. I mean, there's that. But
yeah, that would have been difficult. Yeah, that page is still there. I still see things pop up on it all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of my how I got into hiking, through hiking, stuff like that, outdoorsy type stuff. Yeah. I don't know how far you want me to go here.
That's good. A couple follow-up comments / question. One is that your story has a common theme in that I talk to a lot of people who that seed gets planted and they brush it off at first, and it kind of it festers in their brain, and they keep coming back to it until they find themselves with a bag on their back and boots on their feet. They're out on the trail. So it's interesting how it just kind of stays with you and just eats away at you until you do it.
Yeah, I think it takes a certain kind of person that happens to, but you got to, I mean, certain people just are, not only are they not afraid of being uncomfortable to go get a good experience in, but they almost want it, and I've learned over the years that's me, So when it's something like that, a seed like that gets planted, and you can't get rid of it. It's like, oh, I got to go torture myself and see what this is like.
And then you said a little bit earlier, when you're talking about your Marine training, I believe, is a thought that often strikes me as well, and that is that humans are capable of so much more than we think. We can go beyond what we think we can do.
I mean, it's crazy, and it's really a little bit unfortunate that people these days don't realize that. I mean, people throughout time probably haven't realized that, but I think in our time and age, it's everything is so easy now. There's the technology, and it's a good thing, but technology has made everything so easy that you forget how soft people have become. It sounds terrible, but and then you forget how, or you don't realize how many people are soft. So I don't know. I'm going on a tangent there.
Yeah, no, it's good. Good observations. Absolutely. Now we mentioned it earlier in terms of paying the bills. You have a tattoo shop.
Correct? Yes, sir.
You want to tell us the name of that tattoo shop?
Yep, tattoo shop is called Essential Ink Body Art. It's in Marietta, California. So we're the Temecula Valley area. And yeah, I've been tattooing in August, it'll be 15 years. And I bought this shop. I had a shop of my own that I had for a few years. That was literally just a little office that I turned into a legit legal with the health department, all that shop. And it was just a little appointment only shop. Had that for a few years. And then 6 years ago, I had the opportunity to buy the one I'm at now. And it was just just a random opportunity to get help paying the bills instead of, just paying for everything myself. And, that's working out pretty good. It's a cool job. It's a different job. I've been doing it for so long. It doesn't seem weird to me, but I know a lot of people have, it interests them to learn more about it.
Okay. And we're going to stick a pin in that, because speaking of bills, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from the advertisers. When we come back, we're going to hear some stories from the tattoo shop and beyond. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. And welcome back. We're talking to Luke Pytlik, aka maybe not normal, or four-legged animal. I don't know.
Four-legged animal.
Yeah, we touched just a little bit. Excuse me. And I apologize to my listeners. My voice is a little bit raspy tonight. I'm not sure why. But before break, we talked a little bit about your work in the tattoo shop, and I really have some follow-up questions on that. I'm really intrigued. How did you end up in the tattooing world? I mean, at what point did you realize, you know what, I'm an artist of a special kind, and I want to go in this direction?
Well, so that's a good question. It's my path is different than well, I don't know if there's a normal path for a tattoo artist. I think most tattoo artists are that because the typical route of going through your life isn't necessarily conducive with how they are, but me personally, I always liked to draw growing up, and just with a pencil, it was just my thing, just sitting there in class drawing things, drawing skulls or whatever it was. And I always thought tattoos were cool. I started getting tattoos, once I turned 18. I was in the military. And I always wanted to try doing tattoos. I always thought, and I had no ambitions of being a tattoo artist and making a living or a career out of it. But I always thought it would be a really cool thing to try. When I was watching mine being done on me, I would always pay attention, and it just made sense to me. It looked like it made sense. Just the artistic application of it. And but I never pursued anything. In my late 20s, things kind of hadn't gone the best for me as far as the path my life had gone, and I decided to kind of do a reset. And I moved to Georgia to go live with my brother for a year. And while I was there, I was just trying to figure things out in life. And my brother was sitting there with me one day, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "You know what we should do is we should order a cheap tattoo kit off of eBay, and then you could start doing tattoos on me." I said, "All right." So we did just that, and I'm 30 years old at the time. This is not this new thing I'm starting as a kid that that I'm gonna maybe do. It was just literally thought it would be fun. So that happened. It's not like I just jumped into it and started just destroying my brother's legs. I did do a lot of research that was, well, the amount of research that was available online 15 years ago, and you found the occasional YouTube video that I could zoom in and see what someone was doing and do that. But, and, found websites where people talked about it and stuff like that. But I did the research, but I just started doing tattoos because I thought it would be fun. And my brother, they were okay, but my brother started going to work and showing off his new tattoos and all his people. He was actually the boss, he worked at an enterprise, and all his guys that worked for him were like, "Oh, how much would he charge me for this? And how much would he charge me for that?" I'm sitting there going, are you kidding me? That's terrible. Did you look at it? But things weren't going the best for me at the time anyway, and people wanted to give me money. So I started just kind of doing that. It's not the most responsible way to go about it. I'll be the first to admit it. But they kept coming back, and over time, it just kind of turned into, I ended up back over in California, and over time, it turned into one of those things where I was just people were always asking me for stuff, and I realized I was making more money on the side than I was at my full-time job doing tattoos, and I was turning big pieces away because I didn't have time between the two to work on the big designs and stuff like that, that people wanted. And I didn't have time to do it. So I ended up just throwing in the towel and saying, you know what, I'm just going to focus on this and do tattoos. This is all out of my, the living room of the place I was renting a room at the time. And it just kept going, and it paid off to commit to it. And here I am 15 years later, I've got my second tattoo shop. My brother, who I was living with at the time in Georgia, is actually my head piercer now. He moved back here recently and learned how to pierce, and now manages my shop and is a head piercer. So that came back around in full, which is kind of crazy.
Now, when you say head piercer, he pierces more than heads, right?
He'll pierce, shoulders and
is the top. He's the top piercer at your shop. Got it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's just the best one. So he's
the person in charge of all piercing. Got it.
Yes, absolutely. He's actually the only piercer there right now. So,
okay.
But yeah, it was a path that I didn't anticipate or even really try to go down during all the years before I really fully committed. I was always still trying to work on other careers and get my stuff in order. And it turned out to be tattooing. Even to this day, I have other businesses, and even to this day, that's still the one that pays all the bills that I can always rely on. And no matter what happens, everything could just fall apart on me. And I can, unless I get my hands cut off, I can always support myself and my family with doing some tattoos. That's pretty cool.
What's the best tattoo you've ever done?
That's a tough one. I have a lot that I like, but I think every time someone asks me that, the one that stands out is one that I did. That's a Doc Holliday from Tombstone. And I think I wanted to do that tattoo so bad, just like a portrait of him from just a scene in the movie. And I wanted to do that so bad that I was, at some point I was planning on just doing it on myself. I was going to do it on my thigh, because that's always been the coolest character to me. And Val Kilmer was the man, and I just love that character. So, I was going to do that. And then lo and behold, one of my clients came to me and said, "Hey, you ever thought about doing a Doc Holliday tattoo?" And I said, "Absolutely, let's do it." So I finally got to do it. I didn't have to torture myself with it. And, I can send you a picture of that. It came out pretty freaking cool. So yeah, that's got to be my favorite.
Nice. And do you have a particular style or specialization in tattooing?
I do everything. I'll do pretty much anything that anyone wants. I've got experience in all of it, but black and gray realism is my jam. That's what I would be doing all day, every day if I could pick the pieces.
Got it. And it just strikes me as a good trail name might be Sketch.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Sketch. Try it on. Feel it out.
People might be a little hesitant to tell me any secrets or anything, though.
Yeah, you just have to explain. Not snitch. It's not snitch. It's
Yeah,
sketch.
not snitch and not
Sketch.
sketchy.
You're
Just
right.
sketch.
Not sketchy.
I'm still leaning more toward the what was the first one you said? The
not normal.
not normal. So far, that's we'll see. We'll see. I'm feeling you'll come up with some more.
If you and your brother go on a hike together, you could be sketch and stab.
There you go. I'll mention that.
All right. Hey, let's talk about the JMT. So 2013, it's been festering in your mind for a little bit. And when do you decide to pull the trigger on this?
I can't remember the moment that I did, but I remember I just said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I want to do that. See if he's still interested. I'm gonna do it. And I, called him or sent him a message or whatever it was and said, let's do it, dude. And he said, great. And so then it began the real research and trying to figure out the best way to go about things as far as cutting weight everywhere you need to, and bear canisters and figuring out how to the routine, figuring out how to get as much food in your pack as you need to before you get to the next resupply and things like that. And that was it. It was so as a tattoo artist, it's and it doesn't apply as much today because I do actually own the business and I make money when I'm gone. But pretty much you're not making any money unless you're sitting there working. So I work for myself, but it doesn't mean I have paid vacations or anything like that, So it was always like, okay, I'm going to take 3 weeks off and do this, but I'm going to be struggling when I get back. It's going to be, I'm trying to pay as many bills leading up to it as I can to make sure it's all covered. But as soon as I get back, I'm going to have to hit the ground running, and it's going to be, it's going to be rough. And I can't communicate with my clientele throughout the time I'm there. So it's going to be just a madhouse of trying to organize how to pay my bills when I get back. So that was definitely one of the things on my mind at the time. But you want me to just go into the whole thing?
No, that's good. That's good prelude. Now you do the whole thing, all 211 miles?
I did. Yep.
Okay.
I like to say it's 221 miles because you still got 10 miles to get down to the bottom of Mount Whitney.
That's right.
So
just because it ends at the top of Whitney does not mean that there's a zip line down or a helicopter ride off the mountain. I mean, you still have to walk down to the Whitney. So
and that's a brutal 6 miles, I think it is.
I think it's closer to 10, maybe 9 or 10 miles, and it is brutal.
It was 6,000 feet is what it was.
Yeah,
that's
it's the worst part of the whole hike as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I remember just my legs were just not having it. Just 6,000 feet going down nonstop, and it's just you're over it at that point. So yeah, but yes, I did the whole thing.
So you did it in 13 days. And if you're doing 221 miles in 13 days, that's you're averaging 17 miles a day. That's a pretty good clip.
It was fast. And I have to say, and it's going back to what I was talking about with just the time off and stuff like that. When we started, we did plan on 21 days, which I think is probably the most common way of, or at least planning it. And so we did start off with that intention. We did the first 2 days. I can't remember why, but we just kind of kept going. We were getting out of Happy Isles and getting up to Tuolumne Meadows. And we just kept going. We were able to just keep going. And we did like 20 miles a day for the first couple of days. I think maybe we just were excited, and I remember thinking, man, if we keep this pace up, I can knock a whole week off of this thing. That's a whole week of, that's at least $1,000 that I'm going to be, not broke from. So anyway, so I kind of feel bad for my partner in the whole thing too. He's a really good friend of mine. He was not in a hurry. He didn't care. If you remember, he named himself Vacation Boy because he literally came from one vacation straight there, pulled his new shoes out of a box that were mailed to him there, and put them on and started hiking. So this guy doesn't care about time or anything like that. And kind of lost my train of thought there, but uh, where's I going with that?
I don't know. You felt bad for Vacation Boy, but you were going to save yourself $1,000.
Yeah, so we started going
pounding
really
the miles
fast.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I started pounding the miles out, and I gotta say, I regret it. I don't regret it. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done, and it's the most beautiful landscape I've ever seen in person. And so, but I regret not taking my time with it. There were so many places there. You know how it is. You come around every corner and it's just like spectacular. And you're just like, how can it be as spectacular as the last one? It was more spectacular. And I just kind of kept my head down and just pushed through the whole thing. Some of these places, like for some reason, the one stands out to me always, and I'm going to go back there someday in the near future, hopefully. Was Evolution Lakes, North Evolution Lake. I remember getting there and just, oh, that's right behind you. Look at that. So you clearly like that place too.
Awesome place. Outstanding.
So beautiful. So
yes.
I got some really good video of a baby deer running around in that field right there, the meadow or whatever, and he's just springing along. It's the coolest video. But places like that, I really should have stopped and just relaxed and taken a couple days to fish. Have my fishing pole with me. I think I fished like twice, and I just really I didn't enjoy it like I should have. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the whole thing, but I could have enjoyed it more if I could just get get off of the whole I need to hurry up and get home thing. So I do regret that part of it, and I'll make up for it someday.
Yeah, that's another theme that comes up commonly, is that staying in the moment and appreciating where you are at that particular time. And I think that if you've listened to many episodes, that's kind of my soapbox in terms of life. We're always, when you're a kid, you're looking forward to what's going to happen next. And at some point in your life, you start, when you get to be my age, you start looking back and thinking of, the good old days when we did this and we did that and what fun we had. And very rarely did I find it in myself to say, okay, this is happening right now. I'm going to enjoy every single minute and appreciate it while it's happening, instead of looking back on it and saying those were the good old days. I want to, appreciate to the fullest the good old days.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm trying to teach that to myself as well. I'm a little too high strung. I think I need to just relax, because I always think that something's going to change if I'm anxious to get done or get to where I'm going, and this is just multiple things, not just hiking, and it usually turns out that it didn't matter. If I would just relax, it really didn't matter, and I stress myself out, and it's just, so as I get older, I'm definitely trying to change my mindset to that.
Yeah, I mean, we could come up with an aspirational trail name for you. We could call you Chill, and that would be like a constant reminder that just take it easy.
Yeah, people may think it was purposely the opposite, but we'll see.
All right. Now, I know our listeners are thinking, they're scratching their heads. They're going, you know what? Doc said something about naked out on the trail or naked out on TV, something. And we just want to make clear that you weren't naked out on the JMT.
Well, there were moments that I was naked on the JMT, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to feel that breeze.
That's right.
But
you were naked and on TV in another format. You want to tell us about that?
I was back in, well, I don't remember what year it was, but it was about 8 years ago. I was on Naked and Afraid as a contestant. It was the season 4, episode 3, called Mayan Sacrifice. And that was definitely one of my going back to what I was talking about before. You just got to challenge yourself sometimes. You just got to push yourself and really see if you're capable of things.
Now there's challenging yourself and there's ending up on Naked and Afraid. I mean, that's something.
Well, I'm not one to turn down a challenge if it's just not something blatantly stupid to do. I'm not trying to kill myself or anything like that. But I will admit I pursued that, but it wasn't a thing that I thought it would actually happen. So I'm literally sitting there drinking a beer one day by myself, just watching TV. My wife now, but girlfriend at the time, is at work. I'm just sitting there hanging out, relaxing, and Naked and Afraid is on. And at the time, I was real into studying like survival techniques with my buddy that I lived with at the time. We were roommates, and we were always camping and stuff. But we would spend a lot of time on YouTube looking at like how to set traps to catch stuff, or how to start fires with like a bow drill or whatever, different ways to start fires. And it was just a fun thing to do, kind of like going all the way back to the man versus wild thing, and we were living together at the time, so we were studying all that stuff a lot and just having fun with it. And then I'm sitting there watching the show, and I was just like, I could do that. That doesn't look that hard. And I Googled it, and I found some questionnaire. I don't know if they even still have that. It's probably a different process now. They changed things a lot over the years. And but I Googled it, found a questionnaire, and I'm just sitting there laughing, filling it out, trying to make myself sound as completely awesome as I possibly can, and sent it in. Never thought about it again. When you do something like that, you don't expect to hear anything back. It's just not. It just doesn't happen to most people, And so I never thought about it again. And then a few months later, I get this random phone call, and the guy's like, "Hey, this is so and so from Metal Flower Media. We're interested in you applied for Naked and Afraid. We're interested in finding out some more about you." Oh, now I might have to actually do this thing. So then it turned into like a 6-month process of casting. I had to go to Burbank and do like an on-camera interview with a producer, and I had to do like just Zoom interviews, but Skype at the time. And it was they had me take B-roll of myself and sending it in so they could do all this, run it past all the producers, and all of a sudden I get the part. So they said, "All right, you're going." And then that was like the thing they drug out more and more and more, and then all of a sudden it was like, "Okay, you're going in a month. We can't tell you where you're going, but you're going to Mexico." That's pretty much the equivalent of saying you're going to the United States. I mean, that could be desert, that could be forest, that could be, jungle practically. It could be anything, So that really didn't tell me much. And then a week before I went, I knew where I was going because I had a plane ticket, and that's dropped me down in Cozumel, which is for anyone that doesn't know where Cozumel is, it's a little island off of Cancun, like 10 miles off the coast of Cancun in Mexico, Yucatan Peninsula. And it's a nice destination resort area, really good for diving. But if you go on the other side of the island, it's not so much fun. And
now, before we get to your arrival on the island and what that was all like, I just have to point out the obvious, Luke, and that going from being approached to do the JMT and thinking, well, that's crazy, to just a few short years later finding yourself applying for and being accepted onto Naked and Afraid. That's not a normal trajectory. Kind of fits in with the episode here. It's not normal. That's not normal.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. That's where this is going. Yeah, I think that when I went in the Marine Corps, that was like the first time that I ever really reached down and picked up my skirt and grabbed my balls. That was the first time in life that I really did that. The JMT probably was the next one, as far as like committing to doing something that sounds impossible.
That's quite an image. It's quite a visual you just presented to us as well. So, yeah.
Well, sometimes you got to get the point across.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Old sales term. But but anyway, so after doing the JMT and then this other thing, it's that feeling, you know, it's a familiar feeling of, wow, that would be crazy, wouldn't it? Like, oh my God. And I think that it was kind of helped me push along because of the fact that I'm just thinking, wow, I'm going to be on TV, you know, I'm going to be famous and rich. And yeah, I didn't think I was going to be rich or famous really, but you know what I mean? The allure of Hollywood and so it's like for me anyway, I'm going to go even push myself even further because now Hollywood's involved and I could become something, you know. So maybe that was a little bit there. That's long since passed, and I really could care less about any of that. But yeah, that was probably one of the motivating factors, I'm guessing.
All right, so they drop you off on the far side of Cozumel, and you have to strip down before they leave, right? They leave you out there naked.
Yeah, no, it's the real deal. I mean, this you won't find anyone like in the background being a whistleblower about Naked and Afraid. I'm not saying that there's no things that happen that are produced because it is a TV show and they need to make sure they get things right. But generally speaking, the challenge is real and they don't help you out with it. And so it's you know, here I am in a Jeep driving to location, and they're explaining to me that okay, so the first day and the last day are going to be your worst days for production. We're going to make you do the same things over and over and over and over again till we get it right. The first day, and then we're going to make you do the same things over and over and over again until you get it right, or until we get the footage we need the last day for extraction, you know. So, you know, we pull up in the Jeep and we're next to a beach, and I said, all right, well, go ahead. And I mean, it's something that you prepare yourself for mentally. Obviously, you know it's coming, right? That's why you're there. So you prepare yourself for it mentally. But when that moment comes and you're standing there behind a Jeep and they got the big fancy $100,000 camera and they're just standing there, and you got the boom guy with the boom above you for the sound, and you know, you've got the producer in the background, or the assistant producer, and you've got the guys running around running errands for everyone, and everyone's staring at you, and they're expecting you to drop trow now, and not, you know, go behind the Jeep and drop trow. No, you're on camera, and there you go, there you have it. So so, you know, you just got to accept it and do it. And I'll be honest, that was about 30 seconds of, oh crap. And then the rest of it is like, okay, as soon as we're done with all this annoying stuff on the first day, I'm sitting here with no food, water, shelter, clothes, you know, anything. And there's only so many hours before the sun goes down. And we've got to figure out what's the most important thing and how we're going to get through this first night without really having a lot of time to do anything. So that's when that reality sets in, you know, all of a sudden the production stuff is not really your biggest concern, you know?
Yeah. Now, for those folks out there who live in a cave and aren't aware of what Naked and Afraid is or what it was all about, typically you are partnered up with at least one other person. And I know they had later shows with, you know, groups of people.
Yeah.
But then you have to survive a certain amount of time out there and end up at an extraction point so many miles away. And you have to do that all on your own while being naked and afraid. Hence the title.
Correct. Yeah.
Were you paired up with somebody?
Yeah. So after what I just described, you know, I go out on the beach and they say, okay, go out here and look down the beach, and you're going to see someone that's doing the same thing as you way down there. And that's what I did. And we literally are, you know, we could see each other like way down there walking up, which is kind of a little ridiculous. They probably should have just put us closer to begin with, but I guess they needed the shots from super far away. But it took forever. You know, we're like walking up to each other for like half an hour, it felt like, and then, you know, shake hands. And so, yeah, Alyssa was my partner. Alyssa's her name. And she was a really cool girl. I got really lucky. I'll be the first one to admit to anyone in multiple categories, I got really lucky on my episode. My partner was really cool, really knowledgeable, and we got along. So I've seen lots of these episodes where these guys don't get along, and I'll tell you what, that challenge is rough enough, alone, just trying to do it. But if I didn't get along with my partner, I don't know that it would have been twice as bad, because I mean, you really got to work together to make this thing work. I mean, it's people do it by themselves all the time, but it's a lot easier when you got two sets of hands and brains working. So yeah, Alyssa, she was really cool.
Now, again, was it just 30 seconds of awkwardness when you guys are meeting each other and you're both naked, and then you're quickly beyond that, or was it an ongoing type of concern?
So there's a funny little segment right at the beginning, and you don't have shoes on, and we're walking on like sharp, jagged rocks. They purposely did that right on day one while we're meeting, like trying to not fall over on these sharp, jagged rocks. And so I'm walking up the rocks, and I see this big piece of bamboo on the ground, and I picked it up to help my feet, to just balance myself and not have holes in my feet on day one. And so she's walking up, and it's pretty funny because it is in the show. And she walks up and says, "Yeah, I noticed you down there with your big stick." And she caught herself in the middle of it, and like, "Your big stick," like, oh, I can't believe I just, like, she tried to grab it and pull it back, but it didn't work. And it definitely made the show. So yes, there was a little awkwardness there because of course everyone's laughing. Well, me and her are laughing, the other guys are laughing, but so yes, it was awkward, but I think that just like myself, I think her and I'm guessing most people that do that show, especially if it's their first time doing it, you're building this up in your head for months before you go, and you're preparing yourself for this moment, and it's going to be awkward and this and that, and so it's like you're just like, okay, I'm finally getting this over with. It's not as awkward. It wasn't as awkward to me as I would have expected. We'll put it that way. It was awkward, but we're all there for a reason, and that's what we were doing.
Yeah, I have found in life, in many things, that worrying about something is worse than the something.
Yeah. Yes. 90% of the time, I'm going to have to agree with you on that.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. So, a spoiler alert. If you want to watch the episode, hit pause on the podcast right now. Go watch the episode, because I'm going to ask him, did you make it to Extraction, Luke?
I did. Yep. I made it to Extraction, 21 days. And I lost about 21 pounds. I lost about a pound a day, which isn't that much. Lots of people lose a lot more than that. I just didn't have a lot to lose. So I literally, I was in one of the best times in my life of being in good shape. I was working out a lot. I was running a lot and stuff like that. And when I found out I was going on the show, I literally started eating a bunch and running less to try to pack on a few pounds. But funny story about that is that, it's that mental struggle, right? Because you're sitting there going, okay, I'm going to go starve for 21 days, basically. So I need as much reserves as possible here. But then you've got the other little angel or demon, I'm not sure which one it is, sitting on the other shoulder. And he's saying, "You're going to be naked on TV, dude. You need to look good." So it was the struggle leading up to, like, okay, I'm trying to pack on pounds, but I'm going to be naked on TV for the whole world to see. I mean, what am I going to do? Go on there looking all sloppy? I think I found a pretty, nice happy medium, but I was real skinny when I left still. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the calculus on that. I mean, you just go in really, really heavy and not worry about having to eat food because you're just going to burn it off. But that being naked on TV, that adds another layer that I had not thought of.
Yeah, I mean, I guess most people probably wouldn't think of that. I didn't think of it until it's coming up. I'm like, I'm going to be naked on TV. Like, I can't be looking like it's one thing if I never really cared about my looks, but I do work out, so you can't be going on there looking sloppy. So, yeah.
All right. What was the biggest challenge out there, and what did you eat?
There was a few different meals on the menu, but the majority of what we ate were raw sea snails. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It was as bad as it sounds. And basically they look just like snails, like that you see crawling across the sidewalk in the morning, except without the body. It's just the shell. The shell looks the same. And they're scattered all over these sharp, jagged coral rocks that we're at. They're literally everywhere all the time. And we've had found pieces of driftwood and stuff that we could place along these rocks. So we had like a bridge to walk on. So we'd walk out and collect them all until they were all collected from there. And then we'd walk back and grab wood and bring it further so we could go further out to collect them. And by the end, I was collecting 60 in the morning and 60 at night snails. I'd walk around with my little bag. Right here was my bag. I'd walk around with my little bag and fill it with raw sea snails and just plucking them off the rocks. And then I would go and had this piece of driftwood sitting on under a little canopy thing that I made. And I would just sit there with my half a coconut filled with seawater, just sit next to me, and a big giant rock. And I would sit there and smash snails and clean the entrails out, and drop the little piece of meat, which was pretty much just like a little meat pill, into the cup that I made. And I would just sit there and spend, an hour just to kill some time getting our breakfast or dinner ready, whichever it was. And we'd sit down together and cheers and pop 3 pills at a time and swallow them for protein until they were gone. And that was the majority of it.
Luke, that's another candidate right there. I mean, meat pill just sounds really
meat good. Pill.
Meat pill.
I like it.
And yet you have to tell us the truth here. Tell us the truth on this. When you're doing some work in the backyard, doing a little gardening, and you see a snail crawl by, I mean, do you start salivating a little bit? I mean,
a little bit.
Remembering?
I'll be honest with you. If I never eat another snail for the rest of my life, it'll be too soon. That was I've been on a cruise since then, and they had caviar, or not caviar, the
escargot.
Escargot.
Yeah.
And I think I tried one because I had to compare, and it wasn't much different. So, we tried. So it took us 10 days to get a fire going. And I really firmly believe that changed a lot of how the challenge would have gone for us had we got the fire going earlier. But when we finally did, we actually tried to cook the snails. We tried boiling them, and then we tried just cooking them on like hot rocks. And all it did was they taste exactly the same, only now they're chewy, like more chewy. So we tried that like once after we got a fire going, and then we just went back to eating them just how we ate them, because it was just less work. You're getting the same results, so that was the majority of what we ate. We did have a few. My partner was out of her damn mind a couple times, and she was running around the rocks trying to catch crabs that were running around at night, just destroying her feet. I'm standing there going, "You're out of your mind," because I'd rather keep my feet good than maybe get a crab to eat tonight. That's not going to be balanced out, and for what you're suffering and the way it makes the rest of the challenge go with destroyed feet, it's just. But she was all for it, and you know what? She actually caught like 3 crabs with the tip of a stick, just jamming it into a rock, and that was the most delicious crab I've ever eaten in my life. I have to give it to her. Now, granted, these crabs were probably 3 or 4 inches, wide. That's including the legs. So once you boil them and you take all the guts and stuff out, and you take the legs and you break them open, and you've got this little tiny piece of meat, and you're just crab. But that was pretty much
slightly bigger than a meat pill.
Slightly smaller than a meat pill. Slightly smaller.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So really, we just got the taste out of it. I mean, I'm sure there's calories in there, but for the effort that it took, I was grateful because I didn't destroy my feet doing it. But it tasted amazing. It was the best thing I had tasted for weeks. But that was it.
Okay, you still stay in touch with Alyssa?
Here and there, not regularly. She lives in New Hampshire, and she's like in a log cabin in the middle of the woods with her husband and child now, and that's just definitely her style. So, but we keep up on social media here and there. She went on to do the 40-day one afterward, and that was 12 people were on that, and she was one of 4 to make it the whole way. So she's hardcore. She's the real deal.
Serious badass. If I contact her and I drop your name, will you think she'll come on the podcast? She
might. She's not one to be out. I've been on interviews with her, so I know she's willing to do it. But I'll put in a good word for you. How's that?
Yeah, I want to hear her perspective on you. So
yeah, she's like this. I was stuck with this really terrible guy. He was all fat and shit.
Hey, what's the next adventure, Luke?
Well, I got coming up here in the 4th through the 8th. I am flying up to Oregon, Southern Oregon, and I'll be hiking the road. Huge, but we're just going to do it in a few days. And I've got so in my podcast, I try to find some cool topics to have guests on about, and I reconnected with one of my friends from junior high, from up in Oregon, and I haven't seen the guy or really talked to him in 30 years, but I've been seeing him on Facebook, and he does gold panning up in Oregon. He literally went and got his own mine, like claimed his own. Like you can go like stake a claim like you could in the old days still. If no one's done it yet, you can literally go to BLM land and stake a claim, and then that's your gold. And you can have it, you can mine it, you can pan it, whatever you want to do. And if someone else does it, they have to give it to you. So anyway, I thought that would be a pretty cool topic. Had him on the show, and he was talking about this trip they do every year for the Rogue River Trail, and I've been itching to get out there. So that's where I'm going, and I'm going to go reconnect with my buddy that I haven't really. It'll be interesting. 30 years is I know I'm a different person, so it'll be interesting.
Fantastic. He's going to put you to work on his claim. Watch out.
I know. Oh, he's trying to. He's been trying to. He tries to make it sound exciting, but
Yeah. Hey, not normal. You know where we are?
Where are we? Where do I know where we are?
Hacks.
Hiking hacks. That's right. It's your time to share some trail wisdom with our listeners to make their next outdoor experience better. Let them learn from your mistakes. What do you have for us?
Okay. I don't know if it's a learn from my mistakes, but I got something that is one of my own personal things that I love to do, and it's just always my it's like not the grand finale, but it's like the way to set off the trip. So the prequel to the grand finale, and it's I like to bring an epic dinner with me for the first night, and I'll gladly sacrifice the comfort to put the extra weight there. This is assuming I'm going somewhere that we can make a fire and stuff like that, because as you know, lots of these places you can't even have a fire. But if it's a trip that I can have a fire, I'm allowed to have a fire and stuff like that. I always bring something, whether it's like a steak. So I really like those pre-marinated tri-tips that you can get at the store. They've been marinating for God knows how long, and when you open it up and you cook it, it's just pure flavor, right? So I like to bring something like that, or like one of those pre-flavored pork loins. I've even gone so far as to bring a DiGiorno pizza with me, and I'll hike it out there. I'll suffer with it for the first. When I drank, I don't drink anymore, but when I did, I would always bring some kind of alcohol with me. So a 3-pack of Tall Boys or something. But I always bring some kind of just epic luxury meal with me. And the first night, whether it's cooking the steak on a rock or however we figure out how to do it, or like when I brought the pizza, I literally built a pizza oven out of rocks and cooked it in there. Um, I love that first night with something just to really just give yourself a good treat for that first hike, and just like a way to say let's get this thing going.
Setting the tone.
Setting the tone, absolutely. The rest of the meals are going to be what they are,
Right.
But that first one is worth, because you're not worn out yet. It's worth the extra weight, and you're going to have a really good meal to really sit down. Because that first night you sit down after that first long hike, and that's when you really sit down and say, okay, I'm here. I'm out. I'm away from civilization. I'm here, and now it starts.
That's right. You need to treat yourself. Find some real high quality premium spam and ramen. Top notch. And just go to town, or you could do like not normal, and you can bring a steak or a DiGiorno pizza. Fantastic.
That's right. Both, if you're really feeling froggy.
So there you have it. We are just about done here. Hope our listeners enjoyed our time with Luke. Want to thank you for joining us this week. Luke, how can our listeners keep up with you on social media, and where can they find updates on your latest adventures, and where can they find your podcast?
Social media, I've got all kinds of stuff going on, but I'll just give you Instagram is never.inside. And Facebook is never.inside.co. And the podcast is the Never Inside Theory. You can find that at the neverinsidetheory.com. It's on YouTube. It's on all the major platforms. And then the last thing I'd like to make sure and throw out there is that Never Inside started as an outdoor supply company. So neverinside.com is where I would hope everyone would go to look for some gear. It doesn't have a whole lot of stuff yet, but we're working on that.
Okay. Remember to check out the pod on social media as well. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you have comments or clips you want to share with me, you can send it to me at johnfreakymuir@gmail.com.
Off the beaten path.
Now, unfortunately, we can't always be out on the trail. And when we're not, we need to find a way to get our adventure fix. So, Luke, I'm going to ask you to share some outdoor adventure media with our listeners to help them get by. This can be a book or a movie or a documentary. We call this segment Off the Beaten Path. Any recommendations for us?
That's a tough one. All I can say is that I would go to my, you know what? I messed up. I can't think of anything for that right now. But you can always go check out my YouTube channel, and there is lots of really cool videos that I have made that I think that everyone would really enjoy.
Okay. I think that's an excellent recommendation.
At Never Inside.
We'll have to check that out.
What have we not asked you?
And our last segment before I let you go is called What Have I Not Asked You That You're Dying to Tell Us About? What did we miss tonight?
You know what? Normally when people ask me a similar question to that, it's Naked and Afraid. That's what I would bring up. That's my little claim to fame there. But I would just say that let's all help each other out there. Let's get each other out there in the outdoors. Let's outside. Let's promote the outdoors. Let's I want to make sure that everyone is getting that vitamin D and getting those cell phones turned off here and there.
All right, let's outside. So we are finished. Thank you for coming to the podcast, Luke. We wish you the very best in your future adventures, and we hope you'll consider coming back at some point and sharing some more epic stories, either fully naked or fully clothed, either way. And as we close up today, do you have any shout outs to friends and family, Luke?
You know what? My friends and family, my mom. I'll let my mom get some kudos right here. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. And everyone over there, the team at Essential Ink Body Art. I don't think we ever talked about it, but I got an axe throwing lounge as well. And so all those guys over there, they're out there trying to keep it real in my lounge, throwing axes at the wall. So there you go.
When if you're down in Southern California wine country in Temecula, stop by, get yourself a tattoo, throw an axe or two, and hear some stories.
That's it. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, hey, thank you for tuning in. Always remember, the trail is the trail. It doesn't care if you want to go downhill. It doesn't care if it's almost dark and you're looking for a campsite. It doesn't even care if you've been popping meat pills all day long. The trail is the trail. Embrace the suck.
All right.